right now. Thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, today's first speaker, Gary Adams, brings us a story that's raw, real, and deeply human. It's about the wounds words can leave, the masks we wear to feel worthy, and the painful path toward healing and self-acceptance. Please welcome Gary Adams' speech titled, The Promise.
Good morning, Toastmasters. Good morning. I want to take all of you back to the beginning, to a home where I was born not just into a family, but into a war zone. Not just of violence you could see, but of words that cut deeper than any knife ever could.
You're worthless! Useless!
These weren't warnings. These were prophecies my parents etched into me daily. And like any child trying to make sense of it all, I believed them. I wore those words like a skin I couldn't shed. They became my truth, my internal compass, and ultimately, my chains. With that kind of narrative, you seek anything that just tells you you're enough. You start looking outside of yourself for validation. I found mine in the mirror, in my appearance, in my physique, in my charm. If I could just be beautiful, maybe I'd be lovable. And then I met her, Cindy. She saw something in me I didn't even know existed, something beyond my looks, beyond my performances. For a while with her, I felt safe. I felt real. But pain has a cruel way of circling back. It was a day like any other day in fire college where I was going to school to become a firefighter. We had just finished a live burn, this hard, exhausting drill. I smelled like smoke and sweat and ashes. As I drove home, something caught my eye. Cindy's mom's car parked outside of a bar. She had told me earlier they were going out that night for her mom's birthday. I slowed down. I thought about stopping, maybe going in and joining them and saying hi. But then that voice spoke up. Don't. You look bad. You don't want to be seen like this. So I drove on. The next morning, I was eating breakfast. Cereal, I think, when I heard the newscast.
A young woman named Cindy Rath was struck and killed by a drunk driver last night.
I didn't even need to hear the rest. I knew if I had walked in that bar, she would have been with me. She would have been out on that road. That voice, the one that I trusted to keep me presentable, desirable, lovable, it had betrayed me. That day, everything I thought I knew about myself crumbled. This need for validation, this obsession with my appearance, this mask that I wore, it meant nothing. I couldn't save her. But worse, I might have been able to. You see, it was just a few days later that I found out the details of that night. Cindy was only in that bar for seconds. She was just weeks from turning 21. Her mom and her aunt had went inside to use the restroom, and the bar asked Cindy to wait outside. There were some guys harassing her, so she went back in, only to be told again to leave. I guess she didn't want to start any trouble, so she started to walk home. How anyone could have missed her blonde hair and bright blue eyes. Something I would have seen if I had just stopped. Grief doesn't just break your heart, it strips you bare. It took everything I thought made me, and burned it to the ground. And in those ashes, I found myself lost for a long time. Through therapy sessions where I barely spoke, countless nights just staring at the ceiling, and days where I could barely look in the mirror because I didn't want to see the man that was staring back. One night, I was in my apartment, and I had Cindy's picture in my hand. And I was just missing her glowing smile. And those soft eyes that felt like they were just meant for me. And I was talking to her in my head, and I remember asking her, "Why did you love me?" And it felt like she said, "Because you were trying to become the man that I saw in you." That was the night that something shifted. I started to realize that that voice, the one that told me not to walk in that bar, it wasn't my enemy. It was my ego. It was just trying to protect me, surviving years of the abuse. It would tell me, don't let them see the real you. And in doing so, it kept me from really being seen at all. It was my intuition that helped me understand that my ego wasn't evil. It was just afraid and trying to protect me. And it needed daily, conscious guidance. Cindy's not here. I can't change that. But I've chosen to live my life in a way that honors the things that she saw in me. It's not always the big moments that define us. It's the quiet ones. It's those voices that we sometimes listen to without even realizing that one choice might just change everything. Fellow Toastmasters.